Okay, Peace, it's really nice to welcome you to Giggleswick, virtually, all the way from Australia on the Sunshine Coast. A little bit different to Giggleswick. I'm not sure, it's not raining quite so much at the minute. But really good to have you on. And for people that don't know you, you are an international netballer, captain of Uganda. You've played for Loughborough Lightning in the Super League in the UK, and you're representing Sunshine Lightning Corps in Australia on the Sunshine Coast, which sounds a really good place to be. And so we're just going to follow the usual format, and I'm going to ask a few questions, looking at your career and things like that, and we'll just have a chat about netball as well. So firstly, tell me about your background. Where did you grow up? What was it like?
Oh, thanks, Edward, for inviting me to this platform. Is it the Giggleswick platform? Yeah, it's just such a great pleasure to be part of this, and I'm really pleased for this. Talking about my background, I come from Uganda originally, and I was born in the northwestern part of Uganda, and to be specific, Arua district. Yeah.
Yeah. And how was it growing up there? Was there any challenges you faced?
Well, looking at my upbringing, I happened to come from one of the villages where we were one of the poorest people in that community, and having having been in such a family where even getting a meal in the day was difficult. Yeah, life was tough at that time, and we were just surviving by mercy. We couldn't get opportunities to education and to proper shelter and proper food. So we just managed this through such a situation. But looking at netball itself, I was privileged, at least with the government introduction of UPE. We call it Universal Primary Education, where it was education for all, and at least the child of the poor was able to go to school. And I went to such a school that was government school, and we only had to pay equivalent of probably $1 or $2. That was even difficult to afford at that time, but I went through it, and when I finished my primary, got to secondary, and that was when I learned about netball.
And all the way through, we'll touch on your education, because obviously you've gone on to do a master's and things like that. So the netball was that played at school, and then you went to a club. I know you had to travel into the main city to play.
Oh yeah. First of all, how I got to know about netball was through PE, and from PE was when I actually got exposed to netball, and my PE teacher encouraged me to keep playing netball. So I played netball for my school, and that was one of the reasons I managed to study secondary education. And without that netball, I wouldn't have studied it. So when I finished my secondary education, I lost hope and returned back to farming. And to me, that was the only way I was going to live. And the type of farming I'm talking about is not commercial farming. It was peasant type of farming. It's just survival for the fittest. So the little you get, and in the small available land that you can use, is what we were using for survival. So it was January 2008. I can still remember when National Insurance Corporation from Kampala gave me an invitation, and that invitation found me actually when I was weeding potatoes and getting the garden ready. And when that opportunity came, I was actually blessed to get it. And first of all, it was a surprise that somebody like me could be called to the capital city of Uganda that I've not been into, and I don't know anybody around. And I was so blessed to get that opportunity. And that was the stepping stone in my career.
And that would have been obviously a proud moment for your family, that you were supporting and farming to survive. From your upbringing and in your early days, did you sort of learn the key characteristics of hard work, determination, going forward into your netball?
Oh yes, for us to even get a meal in a day was hard work, and to me, to survive was to just work hard regardless of the circumstances. And I was meant to know that no circumstance determines who you are, but it's how you go through it that actually determines who you are. And I hustled through that hard time. And talking of that opportunity, when it came, it was a difficult opportunity to take in a community whereby people do not understand the benefit of sport. And I can say that my parents and people in the community did not know that sports could benefit anybody. And because of that, because of the fact that they did not know sports was going to benefit, I was actually rejected that opportunity in the first instance, and I was stopped from going. And looking back to the community and some of the girls that I interacted with throughout my life, within that time, most of them were never given opportunity to continue with their school. So after primary, including the ones that were playing netball, after primary, they ended up getting married, and that was the end of their future. And looking at these girls living miserable life, I told myself I'm not going to follow that direction. Somebody has to be the eye opener in this community. And sometimes for us to change people in the community, you have to take a risk. And as long as the risk you're taking is for the overall good of the community and the family at large, it's better to take it. So I had to get out of that norm of having to be home as a girl child and not pursuing my career both in sports and academia. Went through it and decided to travel to the city to play netball. So while I was there at the age of 18, 19, I happened to get the opportunity to represent Team Uganda, and I'm so grateful for National Insurance Corporation and the government of Uganda for giving me that opportunity to actually represent my country. And that was when I got exposed. That exposure led me to scholarships in the university, starting with Nkumba University in Entebbe. And from Nkumba University, I did a diploma in development studies from Nkumba University. And as before I even completed it, Uganda Christian University in Mukono gave me the opportunity to do a bachelor's degree in business administration. And as I was doing that hand in hand with playing basketball for Uganda and netball for Uganda, I was playing two different sports internationally and a student at the same time. So juggling those two actually opened so many opportunities for me. And that's how Loughborough Lightning spotted me in 2014 World Cup qualifiers that was held in Botswana.
And
Yeah,
what were those two sports? Sorry, I know it was netball. What was the other sport you were playing?
Basketball. I actually played basketball internationally too with netball. So I was juggling the two hand in hand, having to train netball and basketball the same day, two different sports, and that exposed me more. So the 2014 World Cup qualifiers, that is the World Cup qualifiers for 2015 Sydney World Cup. When I represented at that qualifiers was when Loughborough Lightning spotted me and gave me the opportunity to go to Loughborough Lightning. And from Loughborough Lightning, I was privileged to be given a sports scholarship to do Masters of Science in Marketing. And I'm forever grateful for Loughborough Lightning giving me that opportunity. And while I was there, I would also like to credit Gilbert Netball for coming in as a sponsor, and that took away a lot of burden from me. At least I did not have to buy my sports shoes and a few other sports equipments, and Gilbert Netball was supplying me with all those equipments, and it made life much easier for me. So that was how I reached that stage. And
I was just about to say, Peace, going back to Uganda before Gilbert came along. How tricky was it trying to buy the equipment, play, train, and the training methods now where you can have meals in camp, and you've got sports science and things like that. How did you manage that and play internationally, two different sports, with the struggles you mentioned?
Well, it just takes persistence and hard work and endurance. Sometimes you have to endure the circumstances. Hence why I often tell people, when you work hard, in the process of working hard, do not put money as the first thing to satisfy your needs. Because for me, I can confess that during those times of training, I had no sports shoes. Sometimes I have to borrow shoes, and with my big feet, it was difficult. And I only had one socks like this. With sometimes it's disgusting that it's something you shouldn't wear. When it wears out, I look for some money in any other way to go and get another one. I could only have one socks at a time. So I can say without a sponsor, without big support, it's extremely difficult in a community like mine. So my hard work created for me opportunities. And with these opportunities, what came was the finance that I was crying for. That's why I always say that money shouldn't be the first reason for someone to work hard. The hard work will always create opportunities, and the final product of your hard work and the opportunities that come is the money that you're looking for. And that's how I managed it. And I just had to be strong every single day. And I always told myself that.
Top result. That's okay. That's okay.
Yeah, I always told myself that nobody or no circumstance will let me down apart from myself. So if I let myself down, that there I will defeat myself. There's nothing else that brings you down other than yourself.
And to overcome that, plus the issue of women in Uganda going away from your village, as you said, to play sport, and then to the UK, what an experience for you that was.
Yeah, it was a great experience. And I mean, it was a risk I had to take for the rest of the girls. And that has actually acted as an eye opener in my own community. It has made people see the benefits of letting children follow their dream, and that the girl child also has a future other than marriage. And to me, that was one of the greatest achievements in my career. It is not the medals that I have, it's not the academic documents that I have, but it is the impact that it has left in my community that is my pride.
Yeah, I think that's so important, for our pupils here as well. It's the hard work and the pride of where you come from. So talk to me about Loughborough. How was that first game on court? Lights, everything like that. Scary, nervous. How were you feeling?
Well, it was panicky. I can say that I did not know what was going to happen. And what confused me the most was the big crowd that came to watch netball. To me, it was like a surprise because I've never seen a big crowd like that watching netball. And that was when I was like, actually, netball is a good sport, and I can also compare it to football back home. So that alone motivated me to keep playing netball more and more. The crowd, particularly the fans that we had in England, were amazing.
And they probably settled those nerves, cheered you on, and things like that. How was your time at Loughborough in terms of, was it successful? Did you place the success on winning, or was it experience in netball in the Super League in the UK?
I mean, my success was not in winning, but it was all about the experience and the impact that it leaves in the community and the young generation. And that's what I call success. Impacting somebody's life through what you do is what I call success. But it is not the wins, because if we are to put it on wins, sometimes we lose, sometimes we win. So when we lose, does it mean that we are failures? We are not failures. So when we lose, how we pick ourselves and taking it as a learning platform is what we actually impact in somebody's life, that in life sometimes you don't have to be successful. Sometimes you lose, but when you fall, how you get back also helps develop someone.
And that's such an important message for young players as well. I think a lot of emphasis is put on winning with young players. So it's really good to hear that losing sometimes can be beneficial to go forward. Leaving Loughborough, I know that was quite hard for you to do and go, and then but you're in Australia now, and how was that decision looking back?
Well, looking back, it was one of the most difficult decisions to make. It was more difficult than leaving my village to come to the city and go to England, because I think I had already rooted myself there and was very comfortable. But again, the realization that sometimes in life, to succeed, you don't have to sit on a comfortable seat. Sometimes it has to be uncomfortable. So that realization made me to get up, as much as it was painful, to go and challenge myself. And I knew coming to Australia was going to be a challenge that I had to stand for. And I used it as something to test my strength as a netball player. And finally, I had to make up that decision to come. Yes, I still have Loughborough Lightning at heart, and I will never forget of Loughborough Lightning. And here with Sunshine Coast Lightning, it's also a very amazing experience too. It's one of the best experiences for me to have in life, and to be here. Here, it's also all good, and sometimes it's difficult to accept change, but you will never know what is inherent in the change until you take a step to experience what it is. And I can say I don't regret, but if any opportunity also avails itself to return back, I will always be flexible in all these areas. And I'm privileged for Sunshine Coast Lightning for giving me that opportunity. This team being one of the top teams in the world and giving me that opportunity made me to believe in myself more.
And how do the two games differ in the UK and Australia? Is there much difference in the standard, the speed, the skill? How do they differ?
That's always a complex question for me to answer. It's just because there's only a very slight difference, and the slight difference, I think, comes in the intensity of the sport. And the intensity here seems to be much higher, and simply because most of the players are top world players, and you're competing with people who are the best in all their countries, and it's very complex. It's just something that every single day you have to be more creative and more innovative. UK League is you have to be very creative and innovative to win too, but the only slight difference I see is the intensity. But on the other side, all of them are netball games, and they develop individuals. And out of these leagues, great people have come in this world, and I'm so grateful for both of the leagues.
Yeah, and you didn't stop there. Experiencing netball in the UK and Australia, went on to World Cups to captain your country. Talk me through your World Cup experience.
Well, that's one of the milestones in somebody's career. But by saying it's a milestone doesn't mean that not making it to World Cup in your career means that you're a failure or you're not a great player. Everyone is a great player in their own world. But for me to get that opportunity was it's just a pleasure to me, and it's an honor for me to represent my country at World Cup. And looking back at my background and being able to captain my country is something that I believe without netball I wouldn't have done.
Yeah, and you talked about the crowds earlier in Loughborough. What were the crowds like at the World Cup compared to that?
Well, the crowd is as big as the one. The World Cup crowd is obviously much bigger because it's a world event. But all the crowds that I have interacted with, both at World Cup and both at club levels, Loughborough Lightning and Australia, it is amazing. And I can say that one of the most happiest places I've ever been in this world is my playing ground, because when I go to play, I'm seeing this big crowd. Everybody loves you and everybody is smiling. It paints a different picture to me as compared to returning home to be on my own. And that's why I said my happiest moment is always stepping on that court to play. Even if I am not on court physically playing, but sitting on that bench and seeing the crowd cheering is one of the greatest things that has happened in my life.
And to captain your country as well, what skills did you have or did you try and implement to lead a team?
I think it was basically something to do with people's skill. I can say that I am more into helping others develop themselves and sometimes leaving myself out. But I think that was one of the reasons I was told that I was chosen as a captain, because I take people with me. And it's not that I have to go alone. And that's something that was outstanding, that I have been told that is the reason I am captaining Uganda. And I've also used that opportunity to be the voice of the voiceless, and it's been working well for me.
And leadership's one thing we talk about with our pupils at school. If you had to say 3 skills for leadership, what would you say they need?
Well, number one is people's skill, and you have to be a team worker, and you have to be the type of person that endures.
Yeah, no, it's really important for young people to understand that leadership going forward. Um, just moving on. What were some of the biggest lessons you learned in your up to your current career in netball?
Well, one of the biggest lessons I learned is just like what I said earlier on, that the only person to let me down is myself. It's not anybody else. And the other thing that I learned in my career is that nothing will ever come to you easy. You have to work for it. And when you work hard for it, the benefit is always great on your side. And the other lesson is that in life, sometimes, yes, sometimes we win, sometimes we lose, but when we lose, we learn lessons. We are not losers.
That's really important. What key skills would you give to a young shooter?
I would say confidence,
Yeah,
because once you instill confidence into a young goal shooter, that's all you can do. Because I can say confidence is one of the biggest hindrances for us as shooters. Even up to this stage that I am playing netball, sometimes I struggle with it. Yes, I do help young girls to develop their confidence and make them better players through their confidence. But sometimes I struggle with it too. That's why I said once somebody has the confidence, that's the end.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And who were your best coaches? Who did you enjoy playing for?
I can say all my coaches, starting from Loughborough, or even starting from Loughborough, the combination of Karen Atkinson and Olivia Murphy is very excellent. And coming back, um, not forgetting Anna Carter, because Anna Carter made me work very hard and she also instilled skills in me. And I can say Vicky Wilson is one of the people that instilled confidence in me at a time when I had lost confidence. And coming back to Sunshine Coast, all my coaches have been brilliant. I can say Nolene Torua, Kylie Bunn, and Christine Vogue, who are my current coaches. They have all done amazing work in my life, and many others that I have not mentioned. I can say every single coach that coached me impacted me in one way or the other, and it's the reason I am here today.
Would you ever think about going into coaching?
I would really love to. Yes, technically, sometimes when I'm on holiday, I do coaching.
Yeah,
It's a very good job, but a highly pressured seat to take. That one I can confess, but I will be grateful to go back to coach because I still have a lot that I can give to the community, and that's one of the platforms through which I can impact somebody's life.
And that was sort of one of my next questions is what's next for you? Obviously, taking netball back to Uganda and helping the communities, as you say. What do you want to do next?
Well, what to do next is a good question because I can say that life is full of uncertainties. Sometimes, yes, we work hard, we lay the foundation, but what lies ahead may be out of what we plan. But one of the things I'm planning is to develop the girl child in any way, either through coaching or through rendering my help in one way or the other, is what I am looking forward to. And the other thing is from the skills I have learned, one of the things I want to do is to go down to develop netball from the grassroots, because I've discovered that netball from the grassroots is literally lacking that help, especially in developing countries like my own country, Uganda. I need to develop that talent from the grassroots and make them a better person through being their voice when it is needed the most, because the poorest of the poor do not have a voice in this world, and having somebody to be that voice for them is something that I hope to do. And yes, I can say given all circumstances, being constant and in my favor is something that I want to do, because this far I have come is not for me to come and end it here, but to take other people with me, and the only way I can take them with me is to render a hand.
That's very, very inspiring. I usually ask, what would you change about a sports career or anything like that, but it seems like you wouldn't change much, and you've just lived how you want to do it in hard work and things like that. But would you change anything?
Well, the only thing I would change probably would be trying to create opportunities for people who never get the opportunity, however much they have worked hard and toiled throughout their life, they've never gotten the opportunities. That's why every single day of my life, I believe I am not the best. But the best of the best has never been discovered, and the only way to discover them is to go to the grassroots.
I think that's a great quote to finish on. Peace. I just want to thank you so much for giving up your time to speak to Giggleswick school students and give your advice on everything really, from netball to growing up to always holding an education to going on to a master's and working alongside Gilbert. So I just want to thank you from Giggleswick on speaking to us today.
Oh, thank you so much. It was a great honor and pleasure to be part of Giggleswick and express my opinion on netball. Thank you so much.